Okay, so good day class. So this is your module 1, which is entitled as Introduction to Human Anatomy and Physiology. Okay, so titignan muna natin if this PowerPoint presentation is available in your my report. Okay. So let's start with the objectives. So what are the objectives of this module? So by the end of this module, the student should be able to, first is to articulate the anatomical terms refer to parts, directions, and geometrical planes of the human body. So it is not only about the structures of the parts, but also the directions and geometric planes, or the what will be the medical terms or the anatomical terms used with the position or the direction of the position of a person or direction of the person. The second one here is to write the appropriate directional term, as I have said. So that, for example, if it is under superior, inferior, anterior, posterior, distal, so on and so forth, identify the organ and locate which part of the organ system belongs. So ito yun yung pinagawa ko sa inyo, class, is to identify the organ and locate which part of the organ system belongs. Okay, anatomy. So the anatomy is the study of the structure or the morphology of the body and the organization of its parts. So the difference between the term, why is it entitled, or subject is anatomy and physiology. When you say anatomy, classes is about the structure. Okay, when you say physiology is about the how the body parts or the function of that structure. So example here, the organ and its function. So this is your digestive system. Diba yung digestive system, naalala nyo dati with your zoology, in the organization of life, an organ system can be considered as an organ system pag made up or composed of different organs. So, under ito ng digestive system because through the presence of your mouth, okay, so this is your pharynx, and this one is your larynx or the voice box, and then this one is your epiglottis going down to your esophagus. This part is under your lungs, which is your trachea here, or your windpipe. This is the one that closes if ang food ay papuntang esophagus at hindi air. Pag respiratory system, ang trachea natin ay bumubukas. But it closes pag food ang papasok. Why? Because your food is under the digestive system. Your trachea is part of respiratory system, which is the lower part of the respiratory tract. So malalaman nyo yan sa inyong respiratory system. So ito yung inyong bronchi, ito yung mga large na area, and then meron siyang mga, parang mga trees. So, ang tawag doon ay mga branches or the bronchioles. Okay, then the alveoli, so on and so forth. So, focus tayo sa inyong digestive system. So, this one is your pharynx or the throat going to your larynx, which is this your voice box. But this part is the epiglottis going to your esophagus. This long tube, okay, so this is your esophagus. The function of this is a tube na responsible para mag-connect yung food from the mouth going to your stomach. So your stomach, this is a muscular organ, okay, which is being used to break down food. So yun yung function ng ating stomach. Diba? This one is your small intestine, which is the structure or the anatomy or the structure of the small intestine, and the function of the small intestine used for final absorption. Ganun ka-difference ang inyong anatomy and physiology. When you say anatomy, it's about the structure. And when you say physiology, it's about the function of the structure. Okay, so in your organization of life, okay, so naalala nyo yung inyong organization of life, di ba? So kung nakikita nyo, meron kasi ditong atom, and this one is the cell. The cell is the smallest unit of life. So dahil life living organism, but this cell needs an organelle. Okay, the cell is made up of different organelles, so yung mga Golgi apparatus, okay, yung mga this group of organelles to produce a cell. Ang isang cell or living organism ay hindi ma-form without the presence of an organelle. And this organelle, ang nagfo-food or nagbibigay sa kanila or nagsusustain ang macromolecule. The macromolecule are the food there are three macromolecules, okay, inside our body, and these are the proteins, lipids, and they are made up of molecule. Okay, so the molecule are made up of atoms. So like for example, your protein are made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. For carbohydrates, your nucleic acids, your lipids are made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and other elements. So they're made up of molecule and atoms. Okay, dito tayo sa cell. So cell, there are trillions of cells inside our body, and there are two types of cells. Nalalaman nyo with your biochemistry. So these are the prokaryotes and then the eukaryotes. Okay, focus tayo dito sa picture. So this is a cell. So your cell, the group of cells ay nagpo-form to form a tissue. And this group of tissues form in order to form an organ. And this organ system are made up of an organs. So like for example, in the example above is about the digestive system. So that's an organ system. They are made up of different organs. So the mouth, esophagus, the stomach, the small intestine, the large intestine, they are considered as a system or an organ system because they are made up of organs. Okay. So this one. So these are the organ systems inside our body. Okay, so there are 11. So sabi nila, Mom, 10 lang po yun. Okay, may nabasa kasi akong 10. The musculoskeletal system kasi class is that, okay, the musculoskeletal system ay combination of the muscles and then the skeleton. Or the skeletal. So yun ay pinag-isa doon sa inyo. Kung doon naman kayo nag-base sa inyong syllabus, ang nervous system ay ipinasok doon ang inyong kidneys or the urinary system ay pinasok, I think, sa digestive system kasi as a waste material sa urine, ini-excrete ng ating urine. Kaya nandun siya sa digestive system. So here is your integumentary system. So integumentary system, not only about the hair, not only about the skin, which is the external largest organ of the body. External, sa labas. So this includes the internal body structure, site of many sensory receptors sa your skin. Pag kinurot ka dyan, magta-transmit siya, this stimulus travels towards your brain para i-interpret kung ano yung stimulus na lumabas. Okay, your skin, pag kinurot ka, or the kitel, di ba? Ang skin mo, ang unang naka-attach doon sa iyong kamay, and this communication or the messages ay bibitbitin to your brain to interpret na mainit pala yun. That is the immediate response of our body. Aside from your skin, ang inyong integumentary system are made up of hair and then the nails. So yung nails, hindi lamang sa kuko dito sa paa, but also for your hands. Okay, another one is your skeletal system. So these skeletal systems are made up not only about the bones, but also the cartilage and then the joints. And then when you say muscular system, as I have said, merong musculoskeletal system are made up of muscles. Okay, ano ba yung muscles? Ang muscles natin ay used for movements. Okay, enables movement together with your skeletal system. Okay, you have a tendons, the skeletal muscles, but also, basta habang tumatagal naman ang inyong systems, ay dito niyo malalaman. How about when you say nervous system? So your nervous system are made up of central nervous system and then your peripheral nervous system. So when you say central nervous system, it is about the brain and then the spinal cord. But when you say peripheral, okay, your peripheral, yung nerve and then the nerve endings. I think is that, I'm not sure but I know that the central nervous system, it is under the brain. Kulang namang component. Okay, klasa. Malalaman, madidiscuss naman natin yan. But wala kayong malito. But when you say nervous system, it is made up of the brain, the spinal cord, and then the peripheral nerves. The peripheral nerves are the nerves na nagtatransmit ng messages going to the brain, and then pag na-interpret ng brain, mag-travel siya ulit to para mag-respond ang ating katawan. Okay, your pituitary gland, which is a part of your endocrine system, di ba? Your thyroid gland is found in your neck, di ba? Your parathyroid and your thyroid. Your pituitary gland, which is a master gland, and then together with your pineal and then your hypothalamus, these are the glands which are present into your brain. Your pancreas, okay, your pancreas is used in your either digestive or also but for the hormone. Okay, so ang inyong pancreas here are present in the endocrine system because your pancreas is the one that stimulate the two hormones which are used through the use of your insulin and then your the insulin and your glucagon. Okay, your adrenal glands naman. Okay, ito yun yung parte. But I think it is on under at the back. Di ba pag nakaganon kayo, that is what you call the adrenal glands, which are responsible during to produce your adrenaline or your mga hindi niya siya the hormones which during the um, fight or flight. Okay? Your testes is for the hormones na nagre-release ng inyong sperm. And then the ovaries naman, ito yung organ na nagre-release ng hormone to produce your the estrogen and then your progesterone. How about when you say cardiovascular? Cardiovascular came from the word cardio means heart and then vascular means blood vessels. So ang heart at saka yung inyong blood vessels go hand in hand. Okay? Para to maintain the homeostasis of our body. The next one here is your lymphocytes or the lymphatic vessels, which is a part of your lymphatic system and then your immunity. Ang lymphatic system and immunity kasi pinagsama na rin sila. Okay? Your trachea and your lungs are ito ay under ng inyong respiratory system. So the exchange or the delivery and then the excretion of the waste products. Digestive system. Ito yung mga nagda-digest ng pagkain. The urinary system ay yung inyong kidneys and then the urinary bladder. Okay? Pag puno na yung ating urinary bladder, it signalizes into the brain na i-excrete na yung ihi. The male reproductive system here and then the female is a part of your last module which is the male and female reproductive system. So meron silang kanyang-kanyang functions na pinoproduce na hormones and then composed of different organs also. What are the anatomical terminologies na gagamitin natin? When you say superior, pag sinabi siyang superior class, di ba pag nagsasalita kayo, napaka-superior niya, which means nasa taas. Okay, so when you say inferior, nasa baba. Pag sinabing posterior, nasa likod at the back. And when you say anterior, is nasa front. So when you say cranial, so nasaan ba ang cranial nerves niyo? Nasa taas. So cranial sa taas, caudal pababa. Okay, this is your right side and this is your left side. The proximal, okay, so hindi ko maano to. The proximal is nearly to the torso or yung pinaka-ano ng ating extremities. So ito yun yung pinaka-joints. Okay, the proximal is the upper portion, the distal is that yung malayo. Ganun din sa legs. So the extremities, your lower extremities, your proximal is malapit siya dun sa groin part and then the distal ay yung nasa baba. When you say medial, nasa gitnaan. When you say lateral, nasa side. Diba? The body planes, it's also useful to describe the body as having imaginary flat geometric surfaces passing through it is called as the planes. So ito ay ginagamit, ang body planes ay ginagamit para mag-dissect ng organ or body as a whole. Okay, so the sagittal plane, di ko na yun masyado ha, kasi pang doktor na talaga. Body cavity, same din also. Okay, ginagamit natin yung anatomical terms kasi sa ating mga incoming na lesson. So the dorsal cavity contains the organs of the nervous system that coordinates the body functions. So this dorsal cavity are divided into cranial and the spinal cavity. Kung titingnan nyo kasi sa inyong nervous system, these are the brain and then the spinal cord is responsible for this, which is sila under the central nervous system. So they are part under the dorsal cavity. The ventral cavity contains the organs that are involved in maintaining the homeostasis or the constant environment. When you say homeostasis class is para ma-maintain yung homeostasis, para maging normal ang katawan natin. Kasi pag nagkaroon lang ng problema ang katawan natin, there is something na may problema. So yun yung purpose kung bakit kailangan natin i-maintain ang ating homeostasis. The ventral cavity allows significant changes in the size and shape of the organs as they perform their functions. It is also divided. So ang ating ventral cavity ay ginagamit para mag-function sa ating mga organs sa katawan, which are divided into thoracic and then the mediastinum, which means that when you say the central portion of your cavity, which means the dorsal cavity, which means that it is at the upper portion of your body, and then when you say the ventral, the organs that are involved with maintaining the homeostasis, which is also subdivided. But I think the ventral is on the lower portion. I have to check also about this. Okay, the mediastinum. Okay, this is the one kasi medyo na complicated. Okay, look at this. So medyo ano tayo doon. The cranial is the part which is at the upper portion. When you say the dorsal body cavity, it is and the lower portion. Your cranial, basta tatandaan nyo the word is cranial, came from the word cranium, so which means on your brain at the upper portion. So the vertebral cavity is your vertebral columns. So your vertebral. Okay, this one. Okay, the ventral cavity. Okay, so body thoracic and then the abdomen, which is the lower portion. And then that is under the ventral cavity, and your cranial cavity is that on the upper portion. Okay, so here from your cranium to the vertebral column on your ventral cavity is from portion sa upper portion naman, but both thoracic and abdominal pelvic. So you have to check this, but I think hindi ko na palaliman. Hindi ko siya isasama doon sa inyong exam. Homeostasis. So when you say homeostasis, class describes the body's ability to maintain. As I have said, it is ever to maintain the internal conditions of your body from your external environment. So, for example, if you are allergic to dust, okay, your immune system, okay, your immunity, iba nagkakaroon ka ng allergy, the response of your body para mailabas yung ating allergies, for example, sa dust, is that babahin ka. Okay, you have also the presence of your cilia in your nose para magsala or mag-filter ng dumi. And the function of this is that to maintain the homeostasis. So they go hand in hand. The internal conditions of your body towards the external condition, external environment para ma-maintain ang homeostasis. Like for example, if you have a presence of fever, okay, pag nilalagnat ka, your body, your lymphatic system or your produce a white blood cells. Okay, so pag ang white blood cells, they act as a soldiers. So this acts as a soldiers, there is a presence of fever, and the fever is a symptoms of a disease. Yun yung magsasabi na meron kang sakit. But that's an immediate response of your body in order to maintain this in order to signalize na there is something wrong with your body. So kung ang fever mo ay may cause, malalaman ka agad because of that symptoms. And that is the normal reaction of your body to produce these white blood cells. And through the increase of these white blood cells, sometimes nagkukos siya ng fever sa ating katawan. Okay, nagmamanifest ng fever para malaman or magsasabi na there is something wrong inside our body. It indicates a dynamic state of equilibrium to balance in which internal conditions change and vary but always with relatively narrow limit. Okay, meron siyang limitasyon. Okay? So like for example, ang katawan natin, may tayong kumain ng matatabang pagkain. What will be the effect of this? It plaques. So magko-cover siya doon around your blood vessels. Kukuvera niya yon. Pero kasalanan natin yung class. Okay? Limit lang kasi ang kanya to maintain the equilibrium of our body. So the effect of this, aakyat ang ating, kasi pag may magpa-plaque dun sa blood vessels, magna-narrow yung ating blood vessels. What happened? So pag nagna-narrow yan, maaari na tataas ang blood pressure natin. Okay? So the reaction of our body to defend us and to maintain this homeostasis is to exert more pressure doon sa ating blood vessels. So, ang gagawin niya yan, magpa-pump siya. Okay, magpa-pump siya. That is the reason why nararamdaman mo na mabilis ang tibok ng puso mo. Because your body respond to the narrowing of the blood vessels para i-maintain ang homeostasis. But careful class, what if nagkaroon na ng cover yung blood vessels natin? Hanggang doon lang. It needs a medical advice. Parang ganun din sa inyo rin sa psych. If there is something na kailangan ng medication, for example, in the process of depression, or in the process of, for example, depressed ka, tapos hindi kaya sa advice, so hindi mo kaya manage, you need a medication from the doctor. You need a medical advice. Negative feedback. So meron siyang dalawang feedback, the negative and then the positive. Okay, this is a mechanism that prevents a physiological response from going beyond the normal range by reversing the action. So i-reverse niya yung action ng ating katawan pag nag-i-exit. Okay, pag sobra-sobra. Like for example, if there is a presence of fever. Okay, if your body temperature increases, okay, it sends the impulses to your nerve cells in your skin going to your brain. Okay? So, yung temperature yun, i-regulate ng ating brain at magpuproduce at stimulate yung ating sweat glands, yung sweat natin to produce sweat. Okay, ano yun? Mag-open ang ating pores through the skin. That is the reason why nerve cells in skin and the brain para i-regulate ang body temperature, para ibaba yung ating fever. Okay? Okay, magpuproduce siya in the brain, okay, para mag-produce para yung to stimulate our sweat glands. Okay, these sweat glands produce ng ating pawis through opening the pores in our skin. So, ano mangyayari nun? Papawisan tayo to normalize the body temperature of our body. So, if there is a presence of stimulus, okay, there are presence of senses. Okay, so mayroon ng changes dun. Alam ko mas magaling kayo dito kasi that is the negative and then the positive feedback. So, when you say negative, sensor or receptor, ito yung nakita nyo dun sa taas. These are the physiological value and reports this to the control center, to the brain. It responds to the changes called the stimuli. Okay, pag kinurot ka, di ba masasaktan ka, ano reaction mo? Tatanggalin mo siya. Pag sobrang sakit, the immediate response of this is that tatanggalin mo yung kamay mo. Pag nabubugbog ka, ano bang reaction mo? Kaya pabugbog ka pa, nasasaktan ka na. The immediate response of your body is that the negative feedback. The information flows from the receptor to the control center via your afferent pathway. The control center here is that compares the value to the normal range. When normal range has deviated, the control center aviates the effector. Here it analyzes the information it receives from the determines the appropriate response, of course, of the action. So pag nararamdaman ng ating stimulus that there is something happen inside, is to control it. Okay, activates the effector. Your hypothalamus is the one that regulates the body temperature inside our body. So, i-control niya yung pagtaas ng ating temperature. Why? Because pag nasobrahan, magsi-seizure tayo or ano bang mangyayari noon, it affects our brain and cause convulsion. Okay, effector causes change to reverse the situation. Because of that effector, the presence of that effector, i-reverse na ngayon yung kanyang reaction. And what is it? The negative feedback. Okay, so this is the control center, the effector. Then to maintain the homeostasis, okay, di ba nagkaroon ng imbalances ang ating stimulus? Okay, hindi na normal ang temperature mo, 37 na. Samantala, ang normal ranges from hanggang 36.9. Pag 37, medyo sinat-sinat na. So, magsisend siya ng impulses, okay, to the receptor sites. So, your skin ay magpuproduce ng sweat para maibsan or mabawasan ang temperature na nasa katawan natin. But sometimes, if there is a problem internally, like for example, if you have a presence of infection, di kaya to na palalabasin lang through sweats. You need a gamot talaga. So ano yon? Yung paracetamol para lalo niyang ibagsak ang temperature every 4 hours kasi the problem is within our body. It is not only a normal sign para mag-defend dun sa ating infection. Another one is that if you have an infection, kailangan ng antibiotics para patayin yung cause ng infection. Para ma-neutralize ang homeostasis. How about when you say positive feedback mechanisms? So really in the body because it enhance the stimulus and the reaction continues a very fast rate. So example here is the blood clotting formation. Diba pag nagka-cut, diba napapansin may dugo kayo? Our platelet, which is one of the component of under the cardiovascular, through the formation of this coagulation. So magka-clot kasi yung class, kasi seconds lang yon. Okay, yung blood clotting formation, that is under the positive feedback. How about the birth of the baby? Sa birth naman ng baby class, okay, kailangan natin ng oxytocin and then the prolactin. Ano yon? Para mag-stimulate, para mag-open yung birth canal na isang nanay para ma-expand or expulsion of the baby. Okay, so that is under the positive feedback. Ibig sabihin, magbubukas lang siya. Okay, magbubukas lang siya. Okay, the birth organ systems control the internal environment to maintain it. So in the birth of the baby, it needs an oxytocin and then the prolactin. Okay, these are the hormones which are responsible para magbukas and through the expulsion of the baby. Kung ang negative nyo is para pababain, when you say positive naman is that para positive negative, para mag-increase. Okay? So ibig sabihin, ang negative is to decrease and when your positive is to increase. Okay, damage tissue releases. So ano yun? Initiate platelet activation, as I have said, magproduce ng platelet. Ano function ng platelet? It is for coagulation or for blood clotting formation. Ang inyong platelets release more chemicals. So yung platelets mo ay magpo-form or magpo-produce ng some chemicals para mag-form ng clot formation para wag ka ma-hemorrhage. But take note, class, parang gaya rin ng negative. If there is something wrong, if there is a problem inside, it needs a doctor or the hospital. So thank you for listening.